It's time to start trusting video game reviewers. All that and more in today's video. An article recently came out by Ben Schledge where he's talking about how it is time for video game players to start trusting video game reviewers, and all I have to say to that is a big haha, no thank you. I get it. Games journalists are terrible at video games. Remember that one guy playing Cuphead? Let's ignore the facts that game journalists regularly beat entire games in a far shorter time span than regular people who don't have deadlines to meet. Turn a blind eye to the fact that they don't have a single guide to help them beat a difficult boss or access an area with some obtruse entry method like drinking poison that kills you at any other time. Forget about the fact that they beat them before the patches arrived to make the game easier. Patches don't always make games easier, sometimes they make mechanics harder, sometimes they actually make spells weaker. So I wouldn't really say that patches are always a positive thing or makes the game easier for the gamer. They also hate video games and choose to cover this beat because they want to destroy the entire industry. It doesn't matter that the wages are low across the sector and crunch is rife. Especially when reviewing 100-hour games with a bafflingly tight turnaround, we hate video games and can't wait to tear them down. Honestly, sometimes it kind of feels that way because you have games journalists that are docking points on games for things that have nothing to do with games whatsoever. Or sometimes you guys just have bad opinions. Let's not forget Stellar Blade, where the writer for the IGN article just insulted the guy's wife. What does that have to do with anything with the game? So it's not so much that you guys are playing the game unhelped or without any guides, or you guys aren't good at the game. It's that sometimes you guys decide to start bringing in your opinions that have nothing to do with the game or the game industry. And now all of a sudden your IGN review or whatever is now a political piece or a commentary on the social norms of society, when the people that are coming to your game review are here to hear about the game, not your political leanings in whatever they go. So before you start crying victim over here because people don't like your review, maybe take a look and see what your review is about before getting mad at the consumer. The myth that games journalists not only suck at video games but also actively hate the medium is one that I've never understood. However, the issue with the game reviews is much easier to parse. You know what I don't understand? In pretty much every other industry, the customer is always right. In every industry across the board. You go to McDonald's, you're missing a pickle in your burger, you go to the front desk, they give you another burger. They don't even bother you. But with gamers, we have an issue with the reviewers, we have an issue with the game, we have an issue with how they're putting a bunch of political beliefs in our games, and now we're the problem? Excuse me, I make your job possible. If I wasn't buying the game industry would not exist and you wouldn't have a job. Gaming in 2024 is team-based. Your team Xbox or your team PlayStation. Team Fortnite or Team COD. Team Stellar Blade or Team Censorship. Team developer or teams journalists. That's how many gamers see it, at least. I think that's how a lot of the games journalists see it, because especially around my age, I'm 30, most people have an Xbox and a PC, or a PC and a PlayStation, or a PlayStation and a Switch. The real divide is coming from the journalists, from the developers. Like Hades 2 developers was mad at the fan base for sexualizing Aphrodite. Why? She's a woman, she's attractive, and a bunch of nerds are playing your game. What do you think is gonna happen if you put a literally naked woman, goddess of fertility and love, in the game and you have a mostly male audience? They're obviously gonna sexualize the character. And then you're gonna turn around and call your fans disgusting for making your dream a reality? Because remember, developers, publishers, game journalists all depend on us, the gamers. So right now it's either team buy or team not buy, in my opinion. There's a major problem with the games market that fuels this feudal misery. Hype trailers for games years away from the release whips fans into a fever, and the excitement heightens to a level where any criticism of the game is seen as a personal slight. Calling Stellar Blade's protagonist Eve boring means that you're a part of the pro-censorship wokerati who can't stand a beautiful woman leading a game. It's not the fact that you guys called her boring, it's that you said that she was boring and then you guys dragged the developer into it, and like, Everyone loved the game, but you guys just kept talking about how she was being over-sexualized. And as I made like 4 videos on this, you guys can check it out on my channel. You guys keep bringing it up. Y'all brought it up. You guys, like the fans, we saw it, we were happy. No one said nothing. Nobody said nothing until you guys just would not stop bringing the issue up, which is what made people upset. So you bring a problem up, you don't like how people respond, and then you go, look at what they're doing. I can't believe they're doing this to me when you started this whole thing. I'm just saying. Team Elden Ring got mad last week when a couple of reviews said that it was too difficult. Accusations flew across the Twitter sphere. The critics behind said reviews were told in the most uncertain terms to get good and suffered far worse abuse as misogynistic as it was vitriolic. Cuphead has been brought up again. Honestly, as soon as someone brings in misogyny in the conversation, I kind of stop listening unless it has to do with actual misogyny. This is video games, and you can't just keep throwing in the word misogyny to explain shitty behavior. Were there people out there that took it a step too far? 100%. 100%. You should never threaten a person. You should never try to dox them. I completely disagree with this. But when you say, oh, it's just misogyny. Oh, it's just misogyny. Hey, there are some people, regardless of their gender, that are just shit. Think about that. Fast forward a week and players are leveling the very same accusations as the From Software DLC. Countless mods have added easy modes to the game, one called Games Journalist mode, despite the fact that journals beat the game without needing it. Players feel bosses are unfair, they believe the systems are too obtruse, and yet they refuse to engage with some of the game's core mechanics due to believing they're a cheat way out. I wonder if any of them have apologized to the reviewers who pointed out these very issues. Did you guys apologize to the creator of Stellarblade when you guys dragged his wife into the conversation? No? Then you don't get an apology. Also, it's your job, and you expect me to care? You think I care about your feelings? I work in sales. When someone doesn't buy from me and I don't get money from the sale, you think they care? See, this is one of the reasons why people don't respect game journalism, is because they expect us to care about them as individuals. My question to you, Mr. Sledge, do you care about the guy you see at Walmart or at Costco or when you go get a coffee at Dunkin' Donuts or whatever? Do you care about any of these people's lives? When you go to Starbucks instead of going to the mom and pop's coffee shop, do you care that you're giving your money to a big corporation instead of the small guy? Do you apologize to them? Do you apologize to any of the workers that you might not have treated in your best behavior? No? Then why do you expect that kind of treatment from gamers? It is your job to be a journalist. I do not care about your feelings, and nor should you expect me to care about them. I don't actually need these headphones now that I think about it. It's not just an Elden Ring problem. When Kali Plag reviewed Cyberpunk 2077 for GameSpot, she was hounded by thousands of players for pointing out the game's negative. She didn't like the edgy aesthetic that played no meaningful part in the gameplay, so she was labeled a prude. She pointed out offensive depictions of minorities, so she was called an SJW. She called out the technical issues obvious even on PC, so she suffered a barrage of hatred. Again, complaining about the game's performance, valid. Complaining about the aesthetic of the game, valid. Shitty depictions of minorities, not valid. This is Cyberpunk 2077. The world gets worse. Right now, especially in the US, guess what? Unfortunately, minorities, aka poor people, are the ones committing the most amount of crimes. Not because they're minorities, but because they're poor. So they're committing petty crimes. Crimes that are easy to catch and crimes that are easy to put on the news, right? So, in a dystopian future where things only get worse, and the elite become more elite, and the poorer only get poorer, and guess what? Most likely in this cyberpunk dystopian future, guess what? The minorities are probably still going to be the poorer class of people, because that's what our current reality is, which makes your opinion stupid. I'm sorry, it's dumb. You're complaining about a reflection of the current state of our society. Do you not understand how short-sighted that is? It's statistics. Go spend some time on the CDC. You might learn something. Plague was at the receiving end of a whirlwind of abuse from games excited for the CD Projekt Red new title 8 years in the making. Their excitement as well as the marketing campaign blinded them from seeing fair criticism as exactly that, fair. Again, your criticism was fair, but then you had to get all political about it by complaining about minorities acting like criminals. It's because they're broke, and that's what it is in real life. I don't know her, but I imagine Plague was excited to play the game too. Games journalists and critiques like games, and yet her 7 out of 10 review sparked days of collective outrage. Also, one thing that games journalists need to take into consideration, think of the kind of person that is going to take the time to watch a games review and then send a personal message to the reviewer. Do you think that person's in the majority or the minority? Like, actually take a second to think about it. Do you really believe that the person that is watching the game video and then writing a review and then sending a direct message to the reviewer, do you think that person is in the majority or in the minority? If you took a second and actually thought, you would understand that this person is unwell, unhinged, and their opinion should not matter to you. However, when the game released, fans saw the truth for themselves just days after Plague Reviewed was published, as posts appeared on the Cyberpunk subreddit titled "Everyone Talking Shit About Her." But I'm starting to agree with Kelly Plage. On the whole, the review was more positive than sentiment on the subreddit. The fans' reaction was so intense that a new subreddit, Low Sodium Cyberpunk, was set by the minority of fans wanting to escape the swath turning of the games for the exact reasons Plague pointed out. What gives? At what point do you start trusting games critics and those who review your games as much as you think we're different to you, that we have different agendas and want to tear down the things you love? We're not. We love video games. We wouldn't do this job otherwise, but we have to be honest about our opinion. Give me your opinion about the game. Keep your political views out of them. Right now, this is the big problem with games journalism, is that they're not just reviewing the game, they're bringing in their values, their beliefs into the game. That's not important. I don't care if a game is DEI certified. Does the game run well? Does it play well? Is it an interesting story, right? Is a story well executed? These are the things I care about in my games. And as long as you guys stick to those talking points and you guys don't deviate to some random bullshit, I promise you it'll go much better. This is how to navigate the media landscape. Find someone your tastes align with or whose criticisms you enjoy reading. Find your Roger Albert. Don't just look at the biggest reviews on the biggest sites because you lack important context about the person behind the webpage. You can't expect the review to be balanced and fair, but it will also be entirely subjective. Reviews are opinions after all, so you need to dig a little deeper to understand whether this is a perspective that is similar to you. If your favorite reviewer writes for an independent design, go for it. That might be more valuable to you than an IGN or the Gamer write-up. But no games journalist is out to get you. The vast majority try to be fair in their criticism and unbiased when it comes to the inconsequential argument like console preference. Nobody's going to give Astrobot a 2 because they love Xbox. Nobody's trying to destroy your games, developers' lives. We're honest, we're opinionated, we're humans, just like you. I would agree with some of that, yeah. You should be looking at multiple reviews. You shouldn't just be looking at the one, and most likely the best thing for you to do is to find someone who has similar values as yourself and then to talk about it. And I can agree that some reviews, like for example, IGN, when they talked about Suicide Squad, they were very honest about it. They said what they had to say, and voila, it was a shit game, and we can all agree on that. Again, the issue with game journalism today is that it feels like it's a little bit too opinionated and it's a little too personal. Your job is to review the game, not give me your fucking political beliefs. Pardon my French. That's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think that we need to trust games journalists? Because I certainly do not. While you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because we're now headed for 400 subs. Before the end of the month, can we do it? I don't know. And if you don't want to remember, at the end of the day, I'm just some guy on the internet, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. If you want to see more of my face, be sure to click the video you see on screen right now.